Divine feminine. Have you ever met someone who just made you exhale? Like suddenly you weren't overthinking or second guessing, you were just you and it felt easy. That's the kind of energy coming through right now. There's someone out there who doesn't just like your presence, they feel safe in it. And not because you're trying hard, but because your energy is real, soft, and grounding. You've become the calm in someone else's storm, and they didn't even know they were searching for it until they found you. Let's talk about what this means, because Spirit is showing me this connection goes deeper than you think. Hello, soul family. Welcome to Spiritual Manifestation. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, I'm glad to have you home. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am that you're here, because the energy that's already coming through feels powerful, and I can tell this message is meant for someone who truly needs it today. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. If you feel called to go deeper, the extended readings and extra guidance are always available on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we get into the longer, more personal layers of these messages, and it's a beautiful space to connect on a deeper level. And while you're here, don't forget to support the channel by liking this video, leaving a comment below, and sharing this reading with someone who may need to hear it. Your energy in this community makes such a difference, and I love reading your thoughts and reflections. Now let's go ahead and shuffle the deck together. Spirit, we ask you to guide us in this moment, to bring through the clearest and most aligned messages for those listening. As I set the energy for this reading, I can already feel the cards beginning to stir, and I know something important is ready to come through. Okay. Wow. Divine feminine. The card I just pulled for you is the Page of Cups. And the moment I turned this card over, I felt this soft, sweet wave of energy. Like this innocent, open-hearted version of you that's been pouring yourself into something real, something honest, something that carries the deepest parts of your soul. So let's talk about it. There's this really beautiful energy coming through right now. It's like Spirit is showing me someone, you, bravely stepping forward, even when it feels scary. Even when you're unsure how it's going to be received, you're putting yourself out there, your voice, your story, your art, your creations, your light, and it's raw and it's real and it's you. And Spirit's saying that is what's making it so powerful. It's not about how perfect it looks or how polished it sounds. It's about the feeling underneath it all. That frequency, your frequency, is reaching hearts in ways you don't even realize. And maybe lately you've been second-guessing yourself, wondering if what you're doing is enough, if it's good enough, clear enough, loud enough. But what I'm getting so clearly is this. It's not about the words or the paint or the sound. It's about the energy you're pouring into it. It's about the fact that you're doing it with your heart open. And when you do that, when you create or speak or share from that sacred place inside you, you're not just expressing yourself. You're inviting others to open their own hearts too. And you might not always see the ripple effects right away, but they're happening. Your energy is literally shifting the vibration of this planet. I know that sounds huge, but that's how powerful you are when you show up in your truth. when you express from that place of softness, of courage, of soul. Spirit is saying, don't you dare underestimate how important that is. Don't talk yourself out of your impact just because it's quiet or behind the scenes. And Divine Feminine, there's something else coming through too. Spirit keeps showing me these moments where you almost talked yourself out of doing something, like you had a post ready to go, a painting almost finished, a message on your heart you wanted to share, but you paused, you hesitated, not because you didn't care, but because you cared so much. You wanted it to be meaningful. You wanted it to matter. And that's the thing. It already does. Because it's carrying your soul's fingerprint. No one else on this planet can say what you're here to say in the way only you can. I'm also seeing this deep sensitivity within you, this beautiful emotional awareness that sometimes feels like both a blessing and a burden. You feel everything so deeply, don't you? And while that can make the world feel overwhelming at times, it's also what makes you such a powerful creator, healer, and light bringer. You can't help but put your heart into everything you do, and even though that vulnerability can feel scary, it's also what makes your energy so magnetic. People feel safe around you because you're not pretending, you're not performing, you're just being real. And in a world that's full of masks, that's rare, and it's sacred. Spirit's also saying that your timing is divine. You might have felt like you've been behind or that you missed some kind of window. But no, you've actually been in preparation. Everything you've experienced, even the delays and detours, has been shaping you into the version of you who's ready now. And maybe that's why this Page of Cups is coming up too. Because it's time to take that leap, not from pressure, but from passion. Not because you have to prove anything, but because you're finally letting your voice, your art, your light breathe. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but someone out there has been waiting for exactly what you've been carrying in your heart. There is a soul out there who's going to hear your words, or read your poem, or stumble across your art, and it's going to crack something open in them. It's going to be the message that reaches them when nothing else could. And that's why Spirit is saying, please don't hold back. Your creations are not just for you. They are seeds of light for someone else's awakening too. So if you've been caught in a spiral of perfectionism, if you've been waiting to share something until it's ready, this is your confirmation that it already is. You're already ready. And more than that, you're already doing it. Just by being you. Just by sharing what's real. Just by showing up in your light, even if your voice shakes, or your hands tremble, or you feel completely exposed. Because that's the kind of bravery that changes the world. Let's keep going and see what Spirit wants to say next. All right, the card I just pulled for you is the Two of Pentacles. And the energy here feels so layered, like you've been holding two realities at once. One foot in the physical world, keeping everything together, and one foot in this invisible, spiritual connection that you can't fully explain, but always feel. Because this isn't just a random soul you've crossed paths with. This is deep, ancient, tethered. And that's the word Spirit keeps repeating to me over and over again, tethered. Not in a heavy or toxic way, but in a way that feels inevitable. Like no matter where life takes you, this connection finds you, follows you, echoes through your dreams, your body, your emotions. There is a kind of spiritual bond here that doesn't dissolve over time or space. And you've felt that, haven't you? Even when it's quiet, even when you haven't spoken in what feels like forever. Spirit is showing me this beautiful exchange between two souls who made a pact before this life, a promise to find each other, to hold space, to keep showing up, even if it's only in the energy, even if you're not in physical contact. And that's the wild part, Divine Feminine. This connection doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't follow logic, because the bond is so much bigger than anything you can label or define. It just is. And I'm feeling this pull in both directions, like your heart is in two places at once. There's a part of you that's tried to walk away. Maybe you've said, I need to let this go, or it's time to move on. And yet, their energy still lingers. You still feel them. You still wake up and think about them. Or they visit you in your dreams. Or you randomly get a wave of emotion and somehow know it's not even yours. It's theirs. That's what it means to be tethered on a soul level. And I want to say this with so much love. You are not imagining this. That aching, that missing, that sense of fear that maybe it's too late or they've forgotten you. They feel it too. Spirit says it's mirrored. Everything you're feeling, they're feeling it too. Maybe not in the exact moment, but it comes in waves. You take turns. One moment it hits you hard, and the next it's them lying awake wondering why your name still lives in their chest. This is sacred soul family energy. And for some of you, yes, it may feel romantic. For others, it's more about recognition, like, I know you, not just from this life, but from before. And even if the physical connection isn't stable, even if it's been in and out, close then distant, the energy has never wavered. That line between your hearts has never been cut. It may stretch, it may go quiet, but it doesn't break. And I'm hearing someone's higher self whisper, I'm not going anywhere. It's soft, but steady. And even if this person doesn't know how to show up in the physical the way you wish they would, their soul is showing up every single day, supporting you, rooting for you, learning from you. Because every time you rise, every time you expand, they feel that. And something in them shifts too. This is one of those connections where, when one of you grows, the other is energetically pulled to grow too. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for both of you. And I know that gets exhausting. I know it's confusing. But I also know you wouldn't have this bond if your soul didn't trust you to hold it. So, if you've been feeling anxious lately, afraid that you'll lose them, or that this whole connection is slipping through your fingers, please hear this clearly. You can't lose what's already written into your soul, and you don't have to perform to keep this bond alive. You just have to be, because the bond is. And maybe, just maybe, the reason it's been so hard to explain this connection to anyone else is because you're not meant to. Not right now. Not to people who haven't felt something like this before. Because this isn't a regular story you tell over coffee. This is soul memory. It's frequency. It's something only your heart truly knows how to speak. And while others may look at you with confusion or try to make sense of it from the outside, the truth is, This bond was never meant to be understood by logic. It was meant to be felt. And I feel Spirit wrapping you in this warm reassurance, like a blanket over your shoulders, saying, "You are safe in this. You're not crazy. You're not chasing a ghost. You're honoring something real." That's the power of your awareness, Divine Feminine. You can hold the mystery without needing all the answers. You can carry the truth in your bones, even when it's invisible to everyone else. And that takes so much strength, so much soul maturity. And Spirit sees you for that. You are not walking this alone, even in the moments when it feels like silence is all you hear. So if you're at a place where you're wondering what to do with all of this, how to move, how to feel, how to breathe when the energy gets intense, Spirit wants you to know you don't have to do anything but be in your truth. Feel what you feel, honor what's real for you, and trust that on the other end of this bond, the other soul is walking through their own mirror, their own awakening, their own remembering. And it's okay if it looks different. It's okay if you're ahead in some ways. What matters is that your hearts are still listening to each other, still speaking across timelines, still saying, "I'm here." And Divine Feminine, you are allowed to feel tired. You're allowed to feel unsure. You're even allowed to walk away if your heart needs space. But even in the walking away, your souls are still holding hands, still growing, still connected. Let's keep going, because something tells me Spirit's not done yet. Divine Feminine. The card I just pulled for you is the Knight of Cups. And immediately I felt this wave of energy rush in. Soft, romantic, dreamy, but also emotional in a way that stirs the soul. It's like this energy is here to remind you that something or someone is opening your heart in a way you haven't felt in a long time. And with that, of course, comes beauty, but also uncertainty. So let's talk about it. Because Spirit is showing me this deep, once-in-a-lifetime connection that you've been holding in your heart. Something so rare, so real, that it doesn't even compare to anything or anyone else. This is a bond where walls fall away, where you can be your whole self, flaws, feelings, fears, and all, and somehow still feel seen, still feel safe. It's not perfect, but it's profound. And the question that's been sitting in your heart lately sounds something like, if I choose myself, will I lose them? And what I hear back so clearly from this person's higher self is, you'll never lose me when you're choosing you. Let that sink in. Because Divine Feminine, what if the most powerful way to love this person, this connection, is to fully choose your own path? What if following what lights you up, what makes your soul feel whole, is exactly what keeps this bond alive? That's the paradox Spirit is showing me, that the more you lean into your truth, the more this connection seems to breathe, to flow, to evolve. I'm also feeling like many of you are sensing changes, shifts, decisions rising up in your life, maybe career changes, new paths, emotional clarity, or just this internal pull that says it's time to move forward. But with that rise in clarity comes this whisper of fear. Will they still be with me if I go? And Spirit keeps saying, the connection may change shape, but it will not break. That soul tether doesn't unravel just because you grow. If anything, it adjusts, it evolves, because this kind of bond was made to withstand transformation. It was built to survive rebirth. And here's the wild part. Some of you are in the middle of this heart opening that's so beautiful, it's actually making you feel a little unsteady, like you're falling into something that's equal parts exciting and terrifying. Maybe it's their energy coming in fast. Maybe it's your own heart realizing, wait, I'm not who I used to be. You're starting to love from a new place, less fear, more truth. And that's shaking things up inside you because you're no longer available for what used to feel familiar. You're walking away from dynamics that belonged to an older version of you, and you're doing it softly but clearly. Some of you may not even realize how far you've come until one day you wake up and say, I'm not that same person anymore. And maybe there's grief in that. Maybe there's freedom. Maybe there's both. But whatever you've let go of, it's making space for something new. And I feel that tug of war in your energy, like your heart is pulling forward, but fear is still pulling back. Spirit sees that and wants you to know you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to follow what feels true. So if someone new is entering your life, or if someone old is showing up in a new way, and your heart is fluttering but your mind is spinning, just pause, breathe. This doesn't have to be figured out all at once. You're allowed to move slow. You're allowed to sit with your feelings. You're allowed to be unsure. What matters is that you're showing up honestly with yourself. And here's something else Spirit wants you to really hear. This connection doesn't need to stay the same in order to stay real. You're allowed to outgrow the shape it once held. You're allowed to evolve past old roles, old patterns, old timelines, and still carry the love with you. The bond isn't breaking just because it's changing. It's shifting to match who you're becoming. And that version of you, she's softer and stronger. She's clearer and freer. And this connection, if it's meant to stay, will meet her there. It won't ask her to shrink back into what was. It'll rise with her. So if you're standing in that space where you're unsure what's next, if you're feeling both the ache of letting go and the hope of what's ahead, know that this is part of the transformation. It's okay if you feel like you're floating between versions of yourself. That's where the magic happens. That's where your soul begins calling in everything aligned with who you're becoming. You're not losing anything real. You're just finally making space for what's true. Because the truth is, divine feminine, your heart is growing. And with that growth comes the shedding of old skins, old stories, old limits, but also the unfolding of something beautifully unknown. And whatever or whoever is meant for this next version of you will meet you there. Not because you chased, not because you clung, but because you chose your truth, and your truth called them in. Before we pull the next card, I just want to pause for a moment and check in with you. How has this been resonating with you so far? If something in these first 3 cards has already spoken to your heart, let me know in the comments. I love reading how these messages meet you right where you are. All right, let's go ahead and see what Spirit has for us as we pull the next card. Divine Feminine. The card I just pulled for you is the 8 of Wands. And the second this card came out, I felt this rush, like something that was once stuck is finally moving. Fast. And even though it's exciting, it also feels a little overwhelming, like your heart is wide open and the path is opening too. but your feet are still trying to find steady ground. Spirit is saying this: you've done the inner work. You've been loving yourself quietly, deeply, intentionally. You've been tending to your heart like a sacred garden, learning to appreciate not just your strength, but your softness too. And because of that, you've become a magnet, not just for love, but for real alignment, for truth, for things that match your energy. That's why these new doors are opening. And they're not just ordinary doors. They're the kind that shift your whole story. But let's be real. When things start moving after a long pause, it can feel a little unsettling. You might feel this especially at night, when everything gets quiet and your mind tries to catch up with your heart. Or maybe there's a seasonal shift that's bringing up old emotions. Either way, Spirit is saying, you're safe to move forward even if it feels new. These changes, they're not random. They're not a fluke. They're the result of all the seeds you've planted, some even in your dreams. Some of these new opportunities may come with that strange feeling of déjà vu, like, wait, haven't I been here before? And Spirit is smiling, saying, yes, you have, but not in this lifetime, not in this exact way. These moments were mapped out by your higher self long before you arrived here. That's why they feel familiar. That's why your soul recognizes them before your mind does. You've been calling these things in, consciously and unconsciously, and now they're arriving fast. But here's the thing, not everyone around you is going to understand this new version of you. I'm picking up on a feminine energy, someone who might feel threatened or jealous by your light. This isn't about gender, it's about energy. This could be a friend, a relative, maybe even someone from your past who's seeing you grow, open, and shine, and it makes them uncomfortable. Because you're doing the very thing they were too afraid to do, heal. You're choosing to be seen, to speak, to love, to live. And because they haven't yet chosen that path for themselves, they might try to dim your light. They might make comments that sting, or try to make you second-guess your authenticity. But Spirit is being really clear. Do not shrink. Do not fall in line. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break cycles, to heal what others didn't, to open your heart and let it lead, even when someone else tells you to hide it. And Divine Feminine, maybe this acceleration is happening not just around you, but through you. You might find yourself speaking more boldly, moving more intuitively, trusting your yes and honoring your no without explanation. That's not ego, that's embodiment. You're finally letting yourself be the version of you that you used to only imagine. And that embodiment, it's creating ripple effects, not just in your life, but in the lives of everyone connected to you. Because when a woman remembers her worth, she becomes a living permission slip for others to do the same. And yes, it's okay if part of you feels the need to pause, to breathe, to catch up with the rapid shifts that are unfolding. Just because things are moving quickly doesn't mean you have to rush your heart. Let things align in divine timing, not forced timing. Trust that the right people, the right moments, the right decisions, they're all finding you because you're anchored in your truth, not because you're chasing or proving anything. There's a grace to how this is unfolding. Let it feel graceful. Because what's happening now isn't just a breakthrough, it's a quantum leap. And it's not because you pushed harder, It's because you soften deeper into your knowing, into your truth, into your light. The Eight of Wands is saying, the universe heard you. It saw what you released, what you healed, what you kept believing in, even when there was no proof. And now it's all catching up to you in ways that are going to feel like alignment, like magic, like finally. You've broken chains that weren't yours to carry. You've said yes to healing that others ran from. And now, because of that courage, life is meeting you with speed, with movement, with transformation. So if it feels fast, good, that means the energy is finally catching up to your truth. Let's keep going. Okay. Divine Feminine. The card I just pulled for you is the Five of Swords. And as soon as I turned it over, I heard this message come through so clearly. Just because someone is drawn to your light doesn't mean they know how to honor it. And it's not your job to carry their healing for them. Right now, I feel like there's a connection in your life. Someone who feels familiar, like you've shared something deep once. Maybe it was family, a friend, someone from your past. And at some point, your wounds mirrored each other. You both carried the same ache. But while you chose to face those wounds and do the painful, brave work of healing, they chose to ignore theirs, to wear a mask instead. And now, when they see you fully embodying your truth, your growth, your softness, your wholeness, it triggers something inside them that they haven't yet faced. But here's the strange part. Even though they feel triggered by your healing, they're still drawn to you. They want to be around your light, your peace, your softness, not because they're ready to meet you there, but because your energy reminds them of the version of themselves they haven't yet become. And so it creates this push and pull, a tension. They might smile at you, sit beside you in silence, pretend to be at peace with you. But underneath it, there's judgment. There's a quiet resentment. Because your freedom reminds them of the cage they're still sitting in. And Divine Feminine, that's not something you have to fix. You're allowed to feel something is off, even if you can't explain why. You're allowed to trust your nervous system, your body, your intuition when it says, this connection is draining me. Maybe it's subtle, just a heaviness after a conversation, or a sense of needing to recover after seeing them. But you don't have to wait for proof. You don't have to wait for them to admit what they're hiding. Spirit is saying, you've healed too much to shrink around people who refuse to open their hearts. You're not cold for protecting your peace. You're not selfish for choosing lightness. It doesn't matter if it's someone from your family, your childhood, your past love life. If their energy leaves you confused, if your light feels dimmer when they're around, it's okay to take a step back. You don't need the full story to say no. You don't need the final answer to set a boundary. Sometimes the answer is in the way your body reacts before your mind catches up. And you've earned the right to listen to that. And here's the truth. Someone can adore your presence and still be harmful to your peace. Someone can feel that magnetic pull toward your energy and still not be ready to hold it with care. That's not your burden. You're not here to carry their potential. You're here to honor your own embodiment. Let's see what Spirit wants to show you next. Divine Feminine. All right. The final card I just pulled for you is the Four of Swords. And immediately, I felt this gentle wave of stillness, like a moment after the storm where everything finally goes quiet. It's the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, but full of peace, full of reflection, full of sacred preparation for what's coming next. And for some of you, this quiet is being shared. Spirit's showing me a connection, maybe someone you've just met, or someone your soul has been sensing on the horizon. But there's this beautiful peace between you, this unspoken safety. It's the kind of energy where you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to overthink. You don't have to prove your worth. You just get to be. And they feel the same way too, like they can finally breathe in your presence. I keep hearing the words, I feel safe here. But here's what's even more powerful about this. Your peace isn't just comforting, it's healing. For this person, for others who cross your path, even for the ones who only witness your energy from a distance, you've become a quiet catalyst, not through pressure, not through noise, but by simply existing in your truth. And that truth has a frequency that wakes something up in people, something they may have forgotten, something they haven't allowed themselves to feel in years. It's why people cross your path in moments of personal change or deep transformation. Your presence reminds them of their soul. And I'm getting this very specific message. You've become a soft place to land for people who've spent their lives fighting battles no one else saw. People who were on the verge of giving up, on love, on friendship, on themselves. And then you appeared, not to save them, not to fix them, but to witness them, to hold space. And somehow, through that simple act of presence, they begin to remember who they are. And Divine Feminine, what's so beautiful is that this stillness you've cultivated wasn't always easy to come by. There were seasons where silence felt like abandonment, where peace felt like punishment, where rest felt unsafe because your nervous system had learned to live in survival mode. But you kept showing up for yourself, kept breathing through the discomfort, kept choosing softness when everything in your past had taught you to brace for impact. That's why this stillness feels different now. Because it's not hollow, it's holy, it's earned, it's yours. And this connection, whether it's already in your life or on its way, feels like it's been divinely timed to match this new version of you. There's no chasing here, no guessing, no trying to decode hot and cold energy or wondering if you're asking for too much. With this person, there's reciprocity. They see you not as someone to fix, but someone to feel. Someone they can admire without needing to own. Someone they can meet in their wholeness because they've finally started honoring their own. I'm also getting a strong sense that this connection doesn't demand performance. You don't have to be the strong one all the time. You don't have to be on. You don't have to shrink your needs to keep the peace. If anything, you're being encouraged to expand here, to take up space in new, emotionally nourishing ways. It's safe to lean into what's soft. It's safe to speak your needs without apology. It's safe to rest your heart in the presence of someone who won't drop it. And for those of you who are still in solitude, who haven't yet met this energy in another person, Spirit is saying you're becoming it for yourself first. You are the safe space. You are the peaceful silence. You are the mirror you've been seeking. And because you've made yourself whole, the energy that finds you next will not come to test you. It will come to match you, to honor you, to sit beside you in the stillness and simply say, I see you, I'm here. So allow this season of rest to be sacred. Let it rewire the parts of you that once thought you had to earn love through effort. You don't. You never did. Love is already orbiting your energy, drawn in by the frequency of your peace. And soon, so soon, you'll see how all of this stillness was never a pause. It was a preparation. So whether this is a soulmate, a twin flame, a sacred friend, or simply a new mirror spirit has brought into your life, there's something deeply affirming about this connection. It feels like hope, like grace, like a reminder that maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have to be hard, that healing doesn't always have to come through struggle. Sometimes it arrives through stillness, through warmth, through the peaceful silence between two hearts that recognize each other. Let yourself rest in that divine feminine. Let yourself receive the peace that you've worked so hard to give, because you deserve to be poured into, to be mirrored, to be met. And I feel that this time, you finally will be. Okay, this feels like a beautiful place to close the reading. What we've seen here is a reminder that your energy is powerful, your journey is guided, and spirit is always working in ways you may not fully see yet. Trust that what is meant for you will always find its way, and you don't need to chase. Just allow yourself to stay aligned and open. If you feel called to dive deeper, the exclusive and extended version of our readings are available right now on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. That's where we really expand on these messages and explore the layers that spirit couldn't fit into this space. Also, don't forget to check out the community posts and today's energy reading updates. I love connecting with you there and hearing how these messages meet you in your own journey. Drop your comments below, share your personal requests, and let me know how this reading spoke to you. And if you'd like to keep the energy flowing, I've linked some other videos here that I know will guide and encourage you. I'll see you in the next reading. Bye for now.